Good Tuesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Conversation Daily News. Glad you all could be with us. We, of course, have these headlines coming up on this Tuesday. Have a message from my book, Word That Choose to Live By. Have Dr. Tues' positive thoughts. And in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you're part of my conversation with author Andrew Weiner about his brand new book. You don't want to miss that. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Tuesday headlines. In international news, Israel cancels Washington visit after U.S. allows UN Gaza ceasefire resolution to pass. Tensions between the United States and Israel were exposed on Monday when Washington stood aside and allowed the UN Security Council to pass a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The U.S. decision to abstain on the vote prompted Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to cancel a scheduled trip to the U.S. by two of his top advisors, two Israeli officials said. The U.S. had previously vetoed similar resolutions calling for a ceasefire. Its position evolved last week when on Friday it put forward a ceasefire resolution tied to the release of hostages. That resolution fell when it was vetoed by Russia and China. The U.S. abstention on Monday's vote allowed the latest resolution to pass when the other 14 members of the 15-strong council voted yes. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations said that while the latest resolution included edits requested by the U.S., Washington could not vote yes because it did not agree with everything. A ceasefire could have come about months ago if Hamas had been willing to release hostages, the ambassador said, calling on member states and the Security Council to demand that Hamas accepts the deal on the table. Any ceasefire must come with the release of all hostages, she added. The resolution put forth by the 10 non-permanent members of the Security Council demands an immediate ceasefire for the month of Ramadan, the immediate and unconditional release of hostages, and the urgent need to expand the flow of aid into Gaza. The UN Secretary General said a failure to implement the resolution would be unforgivable. Both Hamas and the Palestinian Authority welcomed the resolution, while Israeli ambassador to the United Nations criticized the Security Council for passing a measure that called for a ceasefire without conditioning it on the release of the hostages. It undermines the effort to secure their release, he said at the United Nations. The Israeli foreign minister said on X his country would not abide by the resolution. The state of Israel will not cease fire, they said. We will destroy Hamas and continue to fight until the last of the hostages returns home. In national news, Morning Joe hosts add to internal NBC criticism of Ronna McDaniel's hiring as a contributor, says the Associated Press. The internal furor over NBC News' decision to hire former Republican National Committee head Ronna McDaniel as a paid contributor spread on Monday, with MSNBC's Morning Joe host saying on the air that they strongly objected and wouldn't have her on their show. We hope NBC will reconsider its decision, said Mika Brzezinski, co-host of MSNBC's 4-hour morning show with her husband, former GOP Congressman Joe Scarborough. The comments from the host, who said they learned about McDaniel's hiring through press reports on Friday, followed former Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd's public criticism a day earlier. Todd said many NBC News journalists were uncomfortable with hiring because of McDaniel's gaslighting and character assassination while at the RNC. In more national news, Boeing CEO to step down in management shakeup as manufacturing issues plague story plane maker. A leadership shakeup at Boeing, including news Monday that its top executive plans to step down, highlights the difficult path facing the iconic aircraft manufacturer as it tries to navigate through yet another safety crisis. CEO David Calhoun, who has been under unrelenting pressure since a panel blew off a Boeing 737 MAX jetliner during a January flight, said he would retire at the end of the year. He said the decision to leave was his and the timing would allow for an orderly transition. The head of the company's commercial airplanes unit is already out. Boeing said he was replaced immediately by Stephanie Pope, a fast-rising insider who just became chief operating officer on January 1st. In entertainment news, comedian Kevin Hart joins an elite group honored with the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. Kevin Hart wiped away tears on stage as he looked up from the bronze bust on a pedestal to the trio of comedy legends who had come to witness his professional highlight. In the VIP balcony of the Kennedy Center Opera House, Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, and Dave Chappelle sat side by side watching Hart accept the Mark Twain Prize for Lifetime Achievement in Comedy Sunday night. I didn't start doing what I was doing to get awards, Hart said. I just fell in love with the idea of comedy. And finally, in business news, Wall Street's momentum cools after its latest record-setting week. Wall Street edged back further from its record heights on Monday to start a shortening trading week. The S&P 500 slipped 16 points, or 0.3%, to 5,218 in a quiet day of trading. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 162 points, or 0.4%, to 39,314. The Nasdaq Composite dropped 44 points, or 0.3%, to 16,384. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Tuesday's episode of Words I Choose to Live By. You are never too young or too old to make a significant impact on the world. Being a star has nothing to do with where you live. It's all about how you live. No matter where you are or where you go, make sure to shine today. Have a great Tuesday. Here is Dr. Tues' positive thoughts right here on Conversation Daily News.
I'm Dr. Teresa A. Smith, Dr. Tues with a positive 365 positive thoughts. Change the things in your life that negatively influence your thinking and behavior. To grow and thrive, we must identify and eliminate the sources of negativity and self-doubt in our lives. Whether it's toxic relationships, self-destructive habits, or limiting beliefs, it's crucial to take protective steps to remove these influences. Jenny's decision to change her environment ultimately transformed her life, proving the power of taking control of one's surroundings to foster personal growth.
Dr. Teresa A. Smith is a professional counselor, author, and worldwide media influencer, sharing positive words of encouragement to help improve your everyday life.
We are part of my conversation coming up with author Andrew Weiner right here on Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with the Entertainment Spotlight. Author Andrew Weiner joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about his writing journey. Here's a bit of our conversation.
Andrew, great to speak with you again. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Cyrus, thanks for having me. Nice to talk to you again.
Oh, the pleasure's definitely all mine. So, Andrew, I have to say, we're going to talk more about Daddy and the Beanstalk here in a bit, but I went into this book not knowing what to expect, and I'm so glad, because there's a lot that you've been able to share in this book, and we're going to kind of talk about some of the things that I picked up on. But what has it been like for you with this book to see the way that people are responding to it?
It's been super fun, and what I did with this book, last time we spoke, I just finished Girl on Fire, which I wrote with Alicia Keys, and so this is a totally different experience. For that book, we obviously leaned heavily on Alicia when it came to marketing and promoting the book, but for Daddy and the Beanstalk, it really fell like more on my shoulders. And one of the things I've done is I've done some author visits at schools, and that has been like surprisingly just been so much fun. I've loved going in and like sharing the book with kids, and they're just an amazing audience. And it's just like we just go in and like I tell jokes, they tell me jokes, we read the book, and it's been really pleasurable.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because that is one of the things I did not expect. And again, for those who have read Girl on Fire, it is definitely a totally different type of book. But it definitely is imaginative when it comes to Daddy and the Beanstalk. And what I love is that there's this great rapport between a father and daughter. We're going to get more into how you kind of decided the dynamics of the characters, Andrew, but do you feel like your personality came out more in this book? I was curious about that, because it is a lot of fun in there, a lot of humor, but also some great lessons. Do you feel like more of yourself is shown in this book?
Yeah, well, I mean, for people that aren't unfamiliar, like this is like very much autobiographical. I mean, to an extent. So it's based on these stories I told my daughter.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversations Daily News. I'll be back to guys on tomorrow's more news, message from my book Words I Choose to Live By, Dr. Tues' positive thoughts, and of course your entertainment spotlight. Until then, I'm your host Cyrus Webb saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Let us go make today amazing. Take care.